Welcome to the CompTIA Project Plus Prepcast by baremetalcyber.com. In project scheduling, dependencies define the relationship between two or more activities in the plan. They establish the rules for how and when tasks can start or finish in relation to one another, shaping the overall flow of the schedule. Dependencies are not arbitrary. They reflect real-world constraints, whether technical, logical, or organizational. When dependencies are misunderstood or mismanaged, the result is often a chain reaction of delays, resource conflicts, and rework that can disrupt the entire project. That is why a clear grasp of dependency types is essential for accurate scheduling and for maintaining both efficiency and control throughout execution. A dependency is essentially a link that dictates how the start or finish of one activity relates to another activity. This link is informed by constraints that may be physical, legal, procedural, or simply based on best practice. Dependencies ensure that activities are performed in a sequence that is viable, coordinated, and aligned with the project's objectives. Every scheduled task should be evaluated for possible dependencies so that nothing critical is overlooked. Leaving dependencies undocumented increases the risk of building an unrealistic schedule that will collapse under real-world conditions. Hard logic, also known as a mandatory dependency, represents constraints that cannot be avoided or altered without violating a physical or legal requirement. A classic example is pouring concrete before any structure can be built on top of it. The laws of physics make this sequence mandatory. These dependencies are not open to negotiation and must be respected when determining the order of work. Often hard logic comes from the inherent nature of the deliverable or from compliance regulations that dictate specific procedural steps. Soft logic, or discretionary dependencies, are those based on best practices, preferences, or team judgment, rather than hard physical constraints. They allow for some flexibility in the sequence of work. For example, a team may prefer to complete all preliminary design drawings before starting procurement activities, even though some items could technically be ordered earlier. Because soft logic is flexible, it can be adjusted to optimize schedules, sometimes by reordering tasks or using techniques like fast-tracking. However, changing soft logic without understanding the downstream effects can create new risks. Internal dependencies exist between tasks performed within the boundaries of the same project. Examples include a deliverable that requires review by an internal quality assurance team before the next phase can start, or a resource handoff from one internal team to another. These dependencies are under the project team's control, meaning the project manager can coordinate schedules, resolve conflicts, and adjust priorities to keep work moving. Strong internal coordination is vital to prevent bottlenecks and to ensure that resources are available when needed. External dependencies, by contrast, involve activities or deliverables outside the direct control of the project team. These could include waiting for a vendor to deliver specialized equipment, a client to approve a design, or a regulatory body to conduct an inspection. Because the project manager has limited influence over these activities, they are inherently riskier. Delays in external dependencies can affect the critical path, forcing the project to slip beyond planned delivery dates. The only way to mitigate these risks is through proactive communication, careful tracking, and contingency planning. In scheduling, relationships between activities are also defined by the way their start and finish dates interact. A start-to-start SS relationship means that one activity cannot begin until another has started. For example, drafting detailed engineering drawings might only start once preliminary architectural layouts have begun. This allows for overlap, which can compress the schedule, but it also requires close coordination to avoid errors from incomplete predecessor work. A finish-to-finish FF relationship requires that one activity cannot finish until another activity has finished. This is common in testing or integration phases, where the final acceptance testing of a product cannot be completed until all subsystem testing has also concluded. FF relationships are useful for synchronizing the end of related tasks to ensure smooth handovers and consistent quality across deliverables. The start-to-finish SF relationship is the least common in project management. It means that one activity cannot finish until another has started. For example, in a security staffing scenario, the night shift cannot end until the morning shift has begun, ensuring continuous coverage. SF relationships are rare but can appear in specialized workflows, particularly those involving shift work or service continuity. The most common type of dependency in project scheduling is the finish-to-start, or FS, relationship. In this arrangement, one activity must be fully completed before the next one can begin. This is the natural and most intuitive flow for many project tasks. For example, development work on a software feature must be completed before user acceptance testing can begin. The FS structure creates a clear, sequential order that is easy to follow and track, which is why it forms the backbone of most project schedules. However, while it's the default choice for many tasks, relying solely on FS dependencies without considering potential overlaps can unnecessarily extend timelines. Beyond the dependency type, scheduling often requires the use of lag time. Lag is the intentional delay inserted between the completion of one task and the start of its dependent task. For example, after painting a room, you might insert a 3-day lag to allow the paint to dry before installing fixtures. Lag times account for curing periods, approval windows, delivery delays, or any other waiting periods that are built into the plan. In most scheduling tools, lag is represented as a positive offset, meaning it pushes the start of the successor task out by a set number of days or hours. Managing lag effectively ensures that the schedule reflects real-world timing rather than just idealized task sequences. On the other hand, lead time works in the opposite direction by allowing tasks to overlap. Lead is a negative offset that pulls the start of the dependent activity closer to the start or finish of its predecessor. For instance, you might begin unit testing a software module before all development work is complete, as long as a sufficient portion of the code is ready. Using lead time can accelerate delivery, but it also introduces coordination challenges and potential quality risks if preceding work is incomplete or unstable. Therefore, lead should be applied selectively and with a clear understanding of its implications for quality control and rework. In most professional scheduling environments, documenting dependencies in project management software is standard practice. Tools such as Microsoft Project, Primavera P6, or similar platforms allow the project manager to define each dependency type, apply lag or lead times, and visualize the relationships through Gantt charts or network diagrams. The advantage of this digital approach is that the software can automatically recalculate the entire schedule when durations change, ensuring that dependent activities adjust accordingly. However, this also means that incorrect dependency settings can propagate errors through the schedule, producing unrealistic completion dates and misleading performance reports. Dependencies are not static. They can change during the life of a project. Change requests, resource reassignments, or delays in predecessor activities may require adjusting the links between tasks. When this happens, the project manager must update the scheduling tool to reflect the new relationships and then recalculate the project's critical path and total float. This is especially important for dependencies that directly influence milestone dates or deliverable handoffs. Every change to dependencies should be documented and communicated to relevant stakeholders to maintain alignment and avoid surprises. Some dependencies are more critical than others, particularly those that sit on the project's critical path. A critical dependency is one where any delay in the predecessor task will immediately push back the project's completion date. These dependencies demand closer monitoring, more frequent progress checks, and faster escalation if risk indicators emerge. Understanding float or slack helps identify which dependencies have schedule flexibility and which do not. Managing these distinctions well allows the project manager to focus attention and resources on the dependencies that truly drive project timelines. External dependencies carry an elevated level of risk because they rely on parties or conditions outside the project team's direct control. Vendor shipments, regulatory approvals, and client decisions are all examples. Any disruption here can stall downstream tasks and potentially affect the entire delivery date. To manage this, contingency buffers may be added to account for potential delays, or alternative suppliers and processes may be identified in advance. Strong, proactive communication with external stakeholders and frequent status checks are essential to reducing uncertainty in these areas. When conflicts arise between dependent tasks, whether due to overlapping resource needs, mismatched timelines, or competing priorities, the project manager must step in to coordinate a resolution. This may involve resequencing activities, reassigning resources, or adjusting task durations to better align with overall project priorities. In some cases, resolving a dependency conflict may require escalation to higher management or steering committees if the impact is significant or crosses departmental boundaries. Holding regular coordination meetings that include relevant stakeholders helps catch and address these conflicts before they escalate into schedule-critical issues. Network diagrams are one of the most effective tools for visualizing and analyzing dependencies. These diagrams show the logical flow of tasks and how they connect, making it easier to spot bottlenecks, identify the critical path, and communicate task relationships to stakeholders. Whether using the activity on node or activity on arrow method, network diagrams provide a clear picture of the project's workflow that complements the more date-focused view of a Gantt chart. They are particularly useful during schedule development and risk analysis, as they allow the team to map out what-if scenarios for task ordering. Communicating dependency-related risks to stakeholders is vital for maintaining trust and preparing for potential schedule impacts. Stakeholder updates should highlight which dependencies are critical, which are at risk, and what mitigation strategies are in place. Providing early warnings when a high-risk dependency is slipping allows decision-makers to approve adjustments or allocate resources before the impact becomes irreversible. By being transparent about these relationships, the project manager builds credibility and reinforces the perception that the project is under disciplined control. Different project delivery approaches manage dependencies in different ways. In a traditional waterfall model, dependencies are mapped out in detail from the start, and the plan is executed with careful adherence to these predefined relationships. Agile methodologies, in contrast, minimize formal dependencies by organizing work into self-contained increments that can be delivered independently. However, Agile teams still manage internal dependencies within each sprint to ensure coordinated delivery. Hybrid environments often apply both approaches, maintaining detailed dependencies for certain work streams while allowing iterative teams greater flexibility. Ultimately, effective dependency management ensures that the project schedule is both realistic and coordinated. Understanding the distinctions between hard and soft logic, internal and external dependencies, and the various sequencing types allows the project manager to create a schedule that reflects the true flow of work. By documenting, adjusting, and communicating dependencies proactively, the team can avoid many of the common pitfalls that derail project timelines. Strong dependency control not only improves scheduling accuracy, but also enhances resource utilization and overall project outcomes, aligning with both best practice and the expectations of the CompTIA Project Plus exam. Thank you for listening. Please follow baremetalcyber.com on social media and check out our books at cyberauthor.me.